another episode of Elevate and Illuminate the Empowerment Podcast. I'm your host, Jamarcus Fields, founder and executive director of Iron Sharpens Iron WAST, where we are stronger together. Today's guest brings a powerful perspective on what it truly means to navigate life after incarceration. Not from being behind the walls, but from the other side of the bars. She's an international speaker, author, certified trauma support specialist, and the founder of a movement that is giving voice to women and families impacted by incarceration. In this conversation, we'll explore the hidden effects of post incarceration syndrome, the toll it can take on relationships, and what healing looks like when you've loved someone who's returning home. This is going to be raw, real, and deeply necessary.
Amen.
Uh, welcome. Thank you for being here this evening.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. And it was such a pleasure to meet you and your wife last night. So, yeah, here we are.
Yes. So before we actually dive into the conversation, take a couple minutes, let the audience know who you are, a little bit about you, where you come from, and then we'll dig into this deeply necessary conversation.
Okay, so I am Sheila Bruno from Houston, Texas, and I am the founder of an organization that has turned into a movement called Wife After Prison. Wife After Prison was initially created, well, it was birthed from the pain that I experienced being married to someone who was in prison for 28 years. And what I came to realize is that, statistics says between 3 and 5 years that individuals will recidivate, where we made it past that point. But again, what happens when the institutional trauma, it's still in their mind? And so I created what I needed because I could not find a support group that would support family members in understanding the chaos that comes with life after prison. So that's how it all started. Again, it is a movement. I've been existing for 8 years now. For 3 of those years, I stood on an island by myself, just trying to get people to understand that life after prison is hard. As Kevin said to me one time, he said, "Hey, loving a brother who has been to prison is hard." So it's very important that not only the citizens who have been to prison understand, but it's also as important that the family members understand what prison does to a person.
Yes. Thank you. So
Mhm.
thank everybody for tapping in tonight. Yeah, we are about to engage in a very deep, necessary, and needed conversation. So y'all are definitely at the right place. Y'all already know what this is. The chat room will be open. So any questions that you have, make sure you put them in the chat and we will bring them into the conversation. Any comments, anything that you want to bring and add a value to this conversation, put it in the chat room and we would definitely get to it. So let's get right into it. So in my introduction, I made reference to the title of post incarceration syndrome. For those unfamiliar, as I was when I met you, can
Okay.
you explain what it is and how it impacts both returning citizens and their families?
Okay, so post incarceration syndrome is a set of behaviors, and those behaviors are born from when individuals have been incarcerated. They have lived in survival mode for years and for decades. And when they come out of those back gates, those same survival modes are coming home with them. Uh, it's important to me, and it was important to me to learn what that looks like in real life, right? As I met last night and spoke about last night, post incarceration syndrome, there are 5 core components to post incarceration syndrome. One of them is institutionalization. One of them is social sensory deprivation. Another is PTSD like. I didn't say it was PTSD. I said PTSD like symptoms. Then there's the antisocial personality trait, as well as the substance abuse disorder. And within each of those five components, there are behaviors, right? So when Kevin and I, and just a little backstory on Kevin and I reconnected after 38 years. We dated in the ninth grade. For 28 of those years, Kevin had been incarcerated. And so the first 2 years of our marriage, absolutely amazing. I was one of the most happiest women alive. And then going into the second year, Kevin began to change. There was the isolation. That was the easily irritated by the least thing. That was the numbing, the emotional numbing. That was the deep depression. So these are some of the symptoms within post incarceration syndrome. So when those symptoms began to surface, I had no clue as to why my amazing husband had changed on me. And so, doing some research and crying and praying, I was led to post incarceration syndrome. And I didn't take it upon myself to say, okay, this is what it is. I shared that information with Kevin, and he confirmed, validated. This is what he was going through. And so, what we've done is, and continue to do, is give language to that pain, because it's not, it's, it's a unique kind of pain. It's not the pain of a regular breakup. This thing here was so deep. And the thing that we have to really take in consideration of, and we have to be mindful, even families, sometimes we're just naive to it. But you have to really think, when a person has been confined, either in a dorm with 500 men, either in a box, with a little bit of window they can look through, or if they are in a cage, or not even to mention solitary confinement for years. How would that not affect a person? So that's how this conversation started. Again, wasn't nobody talking about this. And I was like, I can't believe ain't nobody talking about how our loved ones are coming home from prison. And our loved ones wasn't talking about it, but they were feeling it, and they were suffering in silence. Some individuals who have come out of prison, and they did not have the language or the way forward to overcome this, they ended up ending their lives because of the pain of this thing. So it's really, really important that people understand this is not just about, some ordinary pain, shoulder, arm. No, 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 no. This is an emotional pain. This is a psychological pain that causes these behaviors that we see with our loved ones who are coming home.
Wow. So I know there was a statement that I heard, almost slogan like, if you will, that said you can take the man out of prison, but without addressing pics, prison never leaves the man.
Yep.
Can you unpack that statement for us?
So I say it like this, prison has a release date, but trauma does not. Trauma does not. And we have to go back. We have to look at the big picture. Many of the individuals who have been incarcerated has experienced some type of trauma pre-incarceration, right? So this is the phase I call the disruption phase. At childhood, molested at 7, you know, mom or dad OD'd at 10, you shot at 15, you bullied as a kid, right? Never unpacked any of that, never had therapy. And then you go to prison. as dehumanizing as it is, strip searched every day, sometimes 4, 5 times a day, seeing all of the violence, the fights, people being stabbed. You turn a blind eye to that. You say absolutely nothing. And that's trauma. Never dealt with, never unpacked. And then you come home to a whole new world that has moved on without you. And again, society don't understand what you're going through. You yourself, you're trying to fit in, but it's so hard for you to fit in because there's a lot of things that you're still dealing with. You're still in that survival mode, right? So again, Kevin and I thought we had beat the odds. That recidivism rate, 3 to 5 years, you back inside, where he wasn't back inside in 3 to 5 years. But what happens when the prison is still in your mind? What happens with that? And that is what PICS is. PICS is trauma that lives in your mind. You're so used to doing everything routine, everyday routine, every day, same walls, same noise, same keys rattling. And that's why some individuals out that are out, they have it's a trigger for them because they hear keys jingling because it reminds them of the inside. It's psychological. And I'm gonna say this, a lot of people will say, oh, that's just PTSD. It's not PTSD. PTSD occurs from a single event, a car crash, even combat, right? But PICS, every day or every years, you have thousands of micro traumas are just layered, and it's gonna come out, and it'll come out in your relationships, emotional numbing inside. You couldn't show vulnerability. You couldn't. It could be dangerous for you to show vulnerability. So what do? You mask this aggression. One individual said, he said, every day I had to wake up aggressive so that people know he not the one. Don't even try him. But when he came out of that back gate after 14 years, so did that aggression. And when I speak to individuals who have come home from prison, I always ask, how did you survive prison? How did you survive that? And 99.9% of them said, I had to become. Okay. What did you have to become? Speaking of Kevin, right? Kevin said, Sheila, I had to become a monster.
Yeah.
I had to become a monster so that he would get taken advantage of. And although, you know, after some years, he dialed that back some, but it was still in his system. What we don't even take in consideration when you experience trauma day in and day out, you know what's happening? Your brain is being rewired, your nervous system is being all jacked up. And so when you come home, you're coming home with a jacked up nervous system and your brain has been rewired.
Wow. Yeah. It makes me think of, when I came home, how many layers I was clothed in, um, because of who I had to become in prison.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that I came into prison, um, already with a reputation.
Hmm.
So now I'm coming in, I'm a kid, survival is number one on my priority list,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I already have a name that my name actually hit prison before my body hit prison.
Mm.
So I wasn't in prison an hour and I was in my first fight.
Yeah.
because like now I have to lay the groundwork
Yeah.
again, first time in prison, off of all the things that I've heard, this idea of what I think prison is, like I have to set boundaries and
Yeah.
kind of lay the law down, if you will.
Yeah.
And 26 years of, as you
Yeah.
said, these micro traumas that I'm dealing with, I came home and in total honesty, and it was a statement that was made a few weeks back earlier in the season. I had my mom on as a guest, and she made the comment about how we function in our dysfunction. So my dysfunction had become so normal to me,
That's it.
you couldn't convince me that there was nothing wrong. Like I thought I was good.
Yeah.
I thought I was light years ahead of everybody out here.
Yeah.
Couldn't nobody tell me nothing. I
Yeah.
had issues taking orders because I've been told what to do for so long in my
Mhm.
life. Now that I feel like I can finally make decisions on my own, I don't want nobody telling me what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wrestle with that when you talk about the aggressive nature. I remember times having conversations with my wife, and I've been around enough people to know when I see hints of fear. And I seen that in my wife's face one day. And so I'm like, okay, hold on, like what's really going on here? And she talked about the tone in which I was talking to her
Uh-huh.
and how it seemed very aggressive and almost threatening.
Yeah.
And it messed me up because I felt no malice in me at all.
Ooh.
Like
Yeah.
I was cool. It wasn't nothing personal with her, but I had to realize that I had been surrounded by alpha males for so long that my normal natural demeanor was just aggressive
Yeah.
because I was used to talking to hardened men
Yeah.
for so
Yeah.
long that I had to learn how to turn that dial down and soften my speech when I
Wow.
talk because it comes off a certain way. And those are just some examples, honestly, of a laundry list. Now,
Oh, yeah.
as you stated, most of the time, these aren't things that we put on the table that we talk about for a myriad of reasons. Some of them we don't really think there's nothing wrong. It seems normal to us. And then some of it is, I know for me, I already felt like everyone was looking for the effects of incarceration. They were looking at me, they wanted to see how it affected me, how it messed me up, and it made me feel like I was some sort of lab rat. So I didn't want to talk about it. I would
Mhm.
wait until I got around my guys that I did time with
Yeah.
where we're comfortable knowing that we all flawed in that sense and
Yeah.
we can be transparent and open and have those conversations amongst one another, but
Yeah.
outside of their presence I kind of kept it bottled inside. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you for putting that on the table.
Yeah, and so the thing about it is that individuals who are coming home, like you say, that is your normal. And so you don't really realize how it's affecting your family, right? One gentleman told me, he said, Sheila, I had been out 3 years. He said, and one day my wife said, hey, come, let's sit down. We need to talk. And she told him about his aggressive behavior. He said, I didn't even realize it. She said, the way you talk to me and it's aggressive, you act like you're talking to somebody on the inside. And she had dealt with that for 3 years until, she said, no, no, no. And that's why it's so important for family members to understand PICS, to understand the symptoms of it. So when they see that behavior, they can recognize. Now, don't get nobody no pass. You don't get no pass for no behavior, for misbehavior. And so many people said let me say that. So my first book that I wrote, Wife After Prison Caught in the Aftermath. Man, look here, I was just trying to wave the flag. Hey, hey, prison got some side effects. Yeah, yeah, I was still in the aftermath when I wrote that and when I published my book, and I had women coming forth and saying, before they had even read my book, they said, I can't say nothing to them. I'm walking on eggshells. I don't know what to say to them because, they're going to go off. They're going to go off. But then when I wrote my book, the first one, Wife After Prison, Caught in the Aftermath, and the family members were out here getting this information, I felt like I was like, look here, look, I said, I feel like I was talking behind the individuals in prison. I was talking behind their back, right? So I was like, no, 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 no. I got to get this to them. So I made a commitment that I was going to donate a copy of my book to every prison, right? I've completed 17 states. And then to get letters from individuals on the inside. And as I shared last night, that one of the guys, or night before last, I don't know, it's been a busy 48 hours, but one of the guys that read the book, he wrote me a letter and he said, wow. He said, wow. He said, I knew all the time at the back of my mind something was wrong. He said, like you did. I didn't know it had a name to it. And he said, man, he said, I have messed up my wife's head and I gotta apologize to my wife. He said, I'm gonna have to call her and ask her to get a copy of your book. Another gentleman read it. He said, man, no, he said, sis, keep doing what you're doing. He said, this is my fourth bid. He said, had I had this information, maybe a conversation with my wife wouldn't have turned from civil to homicide when I jumped off the couch and I murdered my wife. Right? When
Mm,
you've been in that aggressive mindset, and I have to say this, prison is not a one size fits all. Everybody's journey is unique and it's different,
mhm,
but there are the patterns, there are the behaviors, right? I've spoken Alaska, platforms, Australia, London, same behavior. This is the same behavior that the family members are talking about, regardless. But what's the common denominator here? The common denominator is they've all been to prison. They've all lived in survival mode. They've all had that routine, that rigid routine every day. Every day. So, what's the common denominator here? The common denominator is they have all been to prison. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah. I want to dig into the chat a little bit. We
Okay,
have a question in here from Megan.
okay.
Says, what are some best practices or strategies to support loved ones who might go through those traumatic events you mentioned?
Okay.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah, yeah.
I can
Oh,
imagine.
absolutely. Absolutely, it is. And thank you so much for that question, Megan. Let me tell you guys something. You cannot support them without understanding. You can't, right? So my book, Wife After Prison, Caught in the Aftermath. And let me just grab this right quick. Uh, okay. So Wife After Prison, Caught in the Aftermath is a great resource to start with, to start understanding. My second book, The Second Sentence, right? I wrote the second sentence for individuals coming out of prison, and those who are inside can read it as well. Again, I wrote this one when I identified pics, right? In here, I give you definitions of what it is. This is a lifeline. This is not a book. And here I tell them, don't read this from cover to cover. You read it, you take the quiz, you do the work. You can't support without understanding. A lot of times women say, how can I support my man? Understand. Understand the behaviors, understand the symptoms so that you can, when you see them behaving, when you see them withdrawing, when you see them shutting down, you'll know what it is and you won't take it personally, right?
Mm.
Because a lot of times, because I was taking it personal up in here. I was taking it personal. Maybe he don't love me.
Right.
Maybe it's another woman. Maybe he don't like me. I was taking it personal, and it wasn't personal. It was just the inner turmoil that he was going through, and he was trying to figure it out. Why am I behaving? He even came to me one day and he said, I don't like the person that I'm becoming, right? But there's the mask, y'all. Let's talk about this mask. Let's talk about the mask, right? So when I asked you, how did you survive prison? You told me you had to become. Okay, what did you have to become? A monster. You put that mask on. Hello, somebody. You put that mask on. And then when you come out, you put on another mask to survive society. And that mask coming off. And that's what was happening with Kevin. The mask was just slowly coming off. And it came off. So, to your question, you have to understand. You have to understand what it is. You have to understand the symptoms. In the second sentence, I give these guys tools and things that you could do. And a lot of them, let's be clear, a lot of them are not just coming out of here, going to see a mental health a therapist. Because number one, they really don't think nothing wrong with them. It's something wrong with us out here, right? So until you get to that point where you want to go and talk to somebody, there's some practical things that you can do. Number one, starting with writing them triggers down. Why do I get triggered when someone in authority on my job, a supervisor, asks me to do something? You have to write all of that stuff down. You have to get it out of your head. So, to answer your question, you have to understand what post incarceration syndrome is. Right. And I mean, we could go on and, Jamal, because you may not even know this, but I went over 30 minutes of my time the other night. I was supposed to do an hour and a half. It was 2 hours. So I'm mindful of the
Right.
time today. But, I could really, really dial this thing back. Another thing I want to talk about is the decision making. When you are in
Mm.
prison, you just ain't getting up and you finna go all over that unit. You've been told what to do, you know. How long you gonna eat and chalk? 20 minutes, you know. You tell when you can go to rec, when you coming back in.
Right.
You're even told, when you can visit your family. So you have limited decision making. So when you come out here and parole gives you a list of things that you need to do, get done in a week or in 2 weeks, what parole has just done to you is re-traumatize you again because your decision making is limited and you become overwhelmed. And this is why individuals say, I want to go back. Say, I could do prison all day long, but this out here, I got too many decisions to make. Even a wife told me, she said, I'm so glad I came across your page. My husband had just come home, she said, and I have been beating my husband up about not being able to make simple decisions. Why, ma'am? Why? And she didn't know that. So when you don't know,
Yeah.
right? When you don't, you telling him you can't even make basic decisions or whatever. What you doing to that man's head? What you doing to that man's head? So to answer your question, you have to understand that's first and foremost, most important. You cannot support without understanding.
Without understanding. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
crazy thing is that process of understanding is, in terms of family, it's a community process
Oh yeah.
because you're dealing with individuals, you know, and I bring this word up often because it's a very pivotal word in this reentry space, especially when dealing with long-term offenders that are dealing with arrested development.
Yeah.
So after 26 years in prison, coming back into society, I don't know who I am as a grown man in society. So this process of understanding, I can't even help you understand because I don't understand.
You don't understand. Yeah.
Like I'm literally learning in real time.
Right.
Um, you know, but again, coming back at 44, everybody was looking at a 44-year-old Jamarcus who's coming home. Jamarcus doesn't know who he is at 44 in
That's
society.
it. Talk about
Jamarcus
it.
has been gone since he was 18 years old. First
Talk
time I went
about
to reentry and they dropped me off at Walmart, I had a whole plan in my head. I'm going to get some cereal. I'm going, and the crazy thing is, I was commissary shopping. I was shopping for what I was used to buying in prison, and then I got to the cereal aisle and saw like 300
it.
different cereals,
Ooh.
and I only got like 40 minutes in the store, and I spent almost 30 of that in that aisle. So when you talk decisions,
Yeah.
like it was hard making decisions because
Yeah.
like I really don't know what I like. You ask me
Yeah.
what kind of cereal I want. I want one of all 300 so I can figure out which ones I like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
what
And
do you want
as
to
a
eat for dinner? Like
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
That yes. And so as family members, we think we're doing a good thing, a good deed, and well intended. Baby, what you want for dinner? And that's what one lady was saying. He don't even know what he want to eat, ma'am. There was no menu when he went to the chow hall that he could select from. He ate what was served, right?
Yeah.
Even the guy that I talked about in the presentation who had a meltdown in the store because he could not decide on the type of coffee he wanted, right? I-30. He said, Miss Bruno, I broke down. He said there were so many brands and flavors and
Yeah.
colors. He said I had a meltdown in the aisle because I could not decide the type of coffee I wanted because there were so many decisions. And let me tell you
Mhm.
something, right? I ain't no neuroscience by no means, but I have studied enough. Then when your decision making abilities have been limited, there's a part of your brain that shrinks. And that's the part of the brain that controls the decision making. So that's why it is so hard for individuals to make decisions. One guy told me, he said, when my family picked me up, they took me to Dennis restaurant. He said it was about seven of them at the table. And so he was looking at the menu, and the waitress came to him first. He said his anxiety was through the roof. And he said he didn't want his family members to know. So he told them to, come back to him. So the waitress went round to everybody. And by the time she got back to him, he still hadn't made a decision. He said, just give me what she had.
Yep, been there.
Yeah. Just give me what she had. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this thing is so deep. Let's get into, let's talk about the emotional suppression. He don't love me. He won't touch me. Right? Baby girl, let me tell you something. Let me help you with something. His emotions have been suppressed. His emotions have been locked down just like his body. Because in prison, you ain't just walking around there hee ha ha, right? So your emotions get locked down. Like this guy told me, he said, man, let me tell you something. He said, I went in shedding all that emotional stuff down. He said, because with the type of time I was getting ready to do, I knew my parents was going to die when I was inside. And when I got that news, I wanted to feel unbothered.
Wow.
So he went in shutting down that stuff. Another gentleman reached out and said his girl was a part of the group, and she was getting the information, but she really just wasn't receiving it, because sometimes people just don't think this is so. So she had him to call me, and he said, "Ma'am," he said, "I don't feel nothing." He said, "I don't feel nothing." He said, "And my girl thinks it's her, but I know it's me." He has suppressed those emotions down for years. And again, just to come, because you come out that back gate, there's no switch saying, okay, you're out, switch on emotions, switch on non-aggressive, switch on intimacy. There ain't no switch at that back gate,
Yeah.
right? No switch at that back gate. And this is the why I say and I preach it. If it's going to be, it's going to be up to us. It's going to be up to us to talk about this and make post incarceration syndrome a national conversation. And I am pleased to say that they are getting it now. Reentry programs are getting it now. Some departments of corrections are allowing this level of conversation n- inside now. But what nobody talking about this?
Right.
Yeah, but when it land up in this camp right here, hey, ain't nobody talking about this. How my amazing husband is walking around here like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't get no more greetings with a kiss when he come through that door. He doesn't come to bed with me. Come on now. Come on now, y'all. We gotta talk about this. You see, Jamarcus, I can go. So just come on. Let's. What you want? What else you want to ask me,
Hey, that's what I want you to do. I want you to go because I
man?
think what you have to say is what needs to be heard.
Yes.
I do want to point a few things, couple more things out in the chat. So,
Okay.
the book. Are your books available on Amazon?
My books available on Amazon as well as my website. My website is a resource. It's I got FAQs on there. There are resources on there, right? So I have a resource page. There's a section on there for citizens who are coming home. There's a section for family members. There's a section for reentry professionals. These are PDF downloads that you can download. Let me tell y'all something. We got to do the work. A lot of people don't get the results because you don't do the work. You know, when people reach out to me and ask me to work, they want to work with me, especially if you're just coming home. I know you don't have no funds, and I ain't finna hold that against you. But what I am gonna do, I'm gonna try you. You say you want to work, you say you're ready to do the work. Okay, go down here to the dollar store, the 99-cent store, and get you a notebook and a pack of pens. Take a picture of it, send it to me. Let me know you want to do the work. But if you can't even do that, I ain't gonna even waste your time. I'm not gonna waste your time, right? So on my website, there is a resource. Do the work. Family members get you got to do the work, babe. You got to do the work. And some women, and I get it. I'm not an advocate of divorce, but I am an advocate of mental health, making your mental health a priority. So if you're in a relationship with somebody that said they did 25 years and they did 30 years and they haven't been affected, and they come home and they bring in that prison mentality into the house, then you're gonna have a decision to make. You're going to have a decision to make. Am I going to stay with this? Can I deal with this? So eventually, Kevin and I got a divorce. Yes, we did. But he is still my best friend, right? He's still my best friend because he said to me, and he did share with me some of the trauma that he had pre-incarceration, incarceration, and post-incarceration syndrome, right? And so he said, Sheila, he said, for me, he said, therapy would need to be a lifestyle because when we were still married, right? We were still married. We was trying to figure this thing out. He did. He said he was going to therapy. He went to therapy. He walked through that front door. He said, she's not gonna be able to help me. And I'm thinking, oh no, please. He said, I'm gonna give her one more shot. And he went back the following week. And he came back and he said, she's not gonna be able to help me, right? Because check this out. A lot of therapists never heard of PICS, never had a client who has been incarcerated, right? So they want to diagnose somebody with PTSD, somebody with PICS as though it's PTSD. And so Kevin said, I'm going to find me another therapy. And I'm a therapist. And I'm like, Lord, let it be tomorrow, please. And eventually, yeah, man, yeah. And so eventually he did. He found another a therapist. And every time he came through that door, I could tell she had cracked him open. And but she specialized in trauma, heavy
Mhm.
trauma, right? So if you're considering a therapist, don't let nobody play with your mental. You go in there and you interview them. Tell me how long you've been in practice. Do you specialize in trauma? What are some of the strategies that you use? Because you get ready to tell these people some stuff. So you're going to make sure that they can help you.
Right.
Right. So my mentees, they tell me, I give them a questionnaire. I ain't trying to overwhelm you. It's a whole lot of questions on here. I don't want, don't trip out. Get you five. And when you go in there and you talk to these individuals, then you make sure you stand 10 toes down. You ask them these questions. If you feel like they're not a good fit, just let them know, look, I need some time to think about this. I need some time to think. Just don't let nobody play with your mental.
Right.
So yeah, so Kevin, and when Kevin said, Sheila, therapy for me uh might need to be a lifestyle. I can't hold that brother hostage in this marriage. I didn't know, if you told me that it should be a lifestyle, but were you willing to make it a lifestyle?
Mhm. Big
Right?
difference.
Yeah. And so even it affected me to the point where I started taking sleeping pills like they was M&Ms. Because the only time that I wasn't in this pain trying to figure out what happened is when I was asleep. So I started taking sleeping pills like an addict. I had to
Wow.
replace water with my wine. So this is what citizens need to understand. Citizens are coming home need to understand as well how this impacts us. But one thing I always love about that brother Kevin Bruno, he owned it. He owned it all. He said, Sheila, I'm so sorry that I brought you into this messed up life of mine. He didn't know he was messed up though. I couldn't hold that brother hostage for that. I couldn't say, look here, that was seven. When that happened to you when you were seven, get over it. That ain't my call. I couldn't say, oh man, that happened when you was in prison. You ought to be over there but that's what some family members do.
Right.
It ain't your call to tell a person when they are should be over a traumatic experience that you don't even know how deeply it affected them. That ain't your call. You're gonna either choose to support or you're gonna choose to walk away to save yourself. That's how that
Mm,
goes. Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Powerful. Um, so before we move on, I have to interject for a quick second because my grandbaby is in the
Okay.
chat trying to speak to me. Hey, Amaya, love you.
Okay.
Um, so for those that don't know, can you tell them what the website is for them to
Okay.
go and look on there? Because I got some people already
Okay.
thinking of some areas where your
Okay.
expertise is needed. So can you give them the
Okay.
website?
So it's wife after prison. wifeafterprison.org. A lot of people think life. No, it's wife after prison. Right? Again, initially, this is just for these women, for us. We needed a safe place. We needed to vent. We needed to talk about it. But then when mothers start reaching out and siblings start reaching out and reentry professionals, I said, wait a minute, we finna open this thing up. This has become a movement. So just because it says wife, this umbrella encompasses anybody and everybody, regardless of your profession, that has had an aid or service or support to individuals who has been incarcerated. So it's wifeafterprison.org. My TikTok, my TikTok is a hub, a educational hub. I have over 100 videos on TikTok, and I talk nothing but after prison stuff, right? And let me
Give
tell
them
you,
the
oh, go ahead.
TikTok handle. Give them the
Huh?
TikTok handle for our
A wife
TikTokers.
after
Give
prison.
them.
Everything is wife after prison. LinkedIn, wife after prison, Sheila Bruno, Facebook, wife after prison. Yeah, TikTok, wife after prison. I have been on TikTok about a year now, but I just got on TikTok last year because I was, like I said, I was scared of them TikTok streets. That some of that content, I was like, oh no, 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 no. And I just did a video, 5 ways that prison changes people, but not how you think. And man, that thing took off. I was like, wow. Shared over 6,000 times, over 2,000 comments, with the majority of the comments were from citizens who have come home and family members. And that thing blew up. Thank you. I didn't know it was a name. Or I sent this video to my wife so she can understand me. Or I said, oh man, these people hungry. They're hungry. And that's when I wrote the second sentence. I said, I have got to share this information, because one thing about it is, when you get this information, when you are aware of post incarceration syndrome, you are now responsible.
Mm.
You are now responsible for sharing this information. Now, let me tell you something. So it is going to be some. Again, they spent all this time and they say it didn't affect them. And as I tell them, I was like, man, what? You did 30 and it ain't I said, man, let me tell you something. You're a millionaire. You don't even know it. You need to write that book if you did them kind of numbers and you walked out there and you're unaffected totally. No, 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 no. Impossible. Impossible. Yeah, impossible.
I agree. So we have a question from Misty. She
I see
asks,
that.
once they get into therapy, do you recommend couples therapy who want to stay, help, and make it work?
So this is my thing about the therapy. So coming out the gate, Mystic, y'all don't have no marriage problem. They need to deal what they need to deal. They need to unpack some stuff, right?
Mm.
And you will not know everything that your loved ones endured in prison. And they may not be open to share it with you in the room. I remember I was so happy that Kevin was going to therapy, baby. I act like it was a field trip. I was like, can I go? And he said no. And then it's dawned on me, right? So, and it's so many of us women, we're so endearing and we want to support. We think we need to go to couples therapy. When I went to therapy, the first time I went, she told me, she said, Sheila, she said, I'm gonna give you, she said, 4 C's. And I'm gonna try to remember what she said. She said, you didn't cause it, you can't change it, don't contribute to it, and care for yourself. That's what she told me. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, she on point. I like her. Yeah. So when I went back the next time, I went in there, baby, with a laundry list of what Kevin had did. I'm trying to think on my drive there. What did he do? What did he say? Okay, I'm gonna talk to Vanessa about that. And when I got in there and I started yapping, she said, "Oh, hold on." She said, "We ain't talking about Kevin today." She said, "We're
Mhm.
gonna Kevin stay on his side of the street with his therapist. You stay over here with me if you so choose." She said, "And if y'all want to come together to have couples counseling, then you can do that." She said, "But today we're going to deal with you. And what part did you play?" Hello. That's when I stopped liking her. But she was on point. So I had to keep coming back,
No
right?
doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. She just showed me me. And let me tell
Mhm.
y'all something. So when Kevin came home, Kevin had a minimum, maybe $700 worth of bills a month. He came in here with me. We bumping 3,000 or whatever. And I didn't want to pressure him. So I didn't, he would contribute financially, yes. But it wasn't like I need 1,500, I need half of this. I took care of everything, right? So when the behaviors surfaced and I couldn't get no answer, then here she go. I need you to be more responsible. Me. 2 years you done held it down. Now you're mad because you don't know what's going on with him. Now you want to pull out the responsibility card. I need you to be the man of the house. 2 years in because you're mad. And I remember he turned around and he looked at me and he said, "Sheila, what does that look like?" He said, "In prison, you're told what to do, when to do it." He said, "What does that look like?" And later on, he told me, he said, "Sheila, you had me on crutches. You took care of everything. I tried, but I got it." He said, "Then all of a sudden, you walked up behind me and you snatched them crutches from up under me." I did that. I did
Yeah.
that. I did that. So, the responsibility piece of it, like one of my mentees, Marlon went in at 15. He came out at 54. And one day after class, he said, "Miss Bruno, I hear you talk about responsibilities." He said, "I ain't had none of that." He said, "And I'm scared." He said, "To be honest, Miss Bruno, sometimes I just be want to violate so I can stay here." And I said, "Marlon, you come out that back gate and Miss Bruno got you." And we have been joined together since he got out almost 5 years ago. So we have to be careful, man. We have to be. We're not babysitting, but we really need to take in consideration what prison does to an individual. And hopefully you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage with someone who is not in denial, because denial is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous, right? And how is it, just like prison is the common denominator for the behaviors, then how is it that the family members are all saying the same thing? When I heard women say I was happier when they were in prison, I was like,
Wow.
I was happier when they were in prison. Yeah, 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 yeah. I see David has I sent a couple of my team members. They brought books back and can't wait to share. David, I was reading something. He said a couple of your
Mhm.
team members were in the presentation on Monday. Thank you, 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 thank you. Yeah, 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 yeah. But guys, I'm so serious. If it's going to be, it is going to be up to us, right? Because this is the deal. So someone asked me yesterday at the lunch and learn. I did a presentation, virtual presentation in a prison in Vegas, right? Some years ago. And so during the Q&A session, a gentleman came up and he said, he did, I think, 23. He said, and I've been to therapy and it didn't work for me. And he said, what's the solution?
Mhm.
I couldn't answer that.
Wow.
I had the problem, but I didn't have the solution. Man, that thing hunted me.
I already
It
know.
hunted me. I got back in them books and I found where a psychologist said prisons are psychologically powerful places capable of transforming the thoughts and the behaviors of those who enter those gates, often in a negative way. And I said, bingo. That's the solution right there. Because if prison is a powerful place as it is, capable of training the thoughts, what do we have to do? We got to retrain some things,
Retrain. Yeah.
right? So I went to work and I created the 3 pillars of reentry, the H3 framework: the head, the heart, and the hands, right? So we got to work on that mindset. We got to work on that mindset, that institutional mindset. We got to introduce that. Then we got to go to that heart. That heart has been hard. We got to work on emotional intelligence and emotional regulation. And then the hands, purpose, work. But a lot of programs, they set individuals up when you've been locked in a cage for decades. And I'm going to come out here, you're going to come out here. I done partnered up with a company to get you a job. You ain't dealt with nothing. And so I put you on a job and you ain't dealt with your head. You ain't dealt with your heart. You go straight to the hands, right? And you're setting
Mm.
them up. You're setting them up. PICS education should be mandatory in every reentry program. Every reentry program. I talked about Mr. Brooks, 40 years on a 2 life sentence. Got out. Within a week, they had Mr. Brooks on a job. He lost that job. Okay, so they got him another job. Mr. Brooks tell the supervisor about one of the employees that he was, if that employee kept bothering him, they was gonna have to life flight him out of there. Mr. Brooks on the inside he was a shanker. He carried 2. So I said, Mr. Brooks, you can't tell the supervisor that they gonna have to call life flight for the employee. Well, Miss Sheila, I'm just trying to tell him. I'm just trying to tell him. He keep jigging on me. They gonna have to life flight him out of there. But that's what's that's what happens when you put the hands before the head and the heart.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm just saying, y'all. If it makes sense to you, put a 1 in the chat.
Uh, let's get it.
Yeah,
Man. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. As I was reading Dave Holloman's comment about sending his guys over to, some people from his team over there to see you the other day, it had me reflecting, as I sat in on the reentry and relationships, and just the profound effect that it had on me having done time, and because I've come out here and put in the work. And don't get me wrong, I definitely was one of those who put the hands before the head and the heart. Thankfully, with a team of prayer warriors and just my personal discipline, I was able to eventually flip that.
That's good.
Like
Yeah.
it was a struggle until I got it flipped, but I was finally able to flip that in doing this work. But I had to take a real look at what it does to those connected to us.
Yeah. Okay.
Incarceration, of course, it affected us to the magnitude that it did because we did time, but it affected every single person connected to us.
Yep.
Whether they rolled out with you for the whole 26, if they was just there for 2 years, if
Yeah.
they just came to visit you one
Yeah.
time, it
Yeah.
affected everybody connected to us.
Absolutely.
So the same way we have this desire and this want to, you know, do this work and to help strengthen our communities and to get a softer landing pad for returning citizens, like we need
Yeah.
a lot of this focus to be on the family as well, because when we talk about our
Yeah.
support systems are coming from our families, but
Yeah.
what it is, as you mentioned earlier, they are either enabling us because they're handling us with kid gloves, or they're just leaving, and it's making us even more bitter
Right.
because we're wondering why we put in all of this fight to get to this point and now people are walking away from us. Like, I don't know how many times I've asked people, what did you expect from 26 years? And of course, I've had to learn, because no one was able to give me a direct answer, that they don't know a direct answer. I
That's
don't
it.
even know the answer.
That's
So I
it.
don't know what I was looking for when I was asking them the question.
Yeah.
Maybe I just wanted to hear something that would make me feel better than I felt at the moment. But like, how can I expect them to give me an answer and I don't have an answer? And I was in the midst of this storm. I was in the eye of this storm the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. We don't know. We really don't know, right? Kevin's mom, if I would really had just leaned in what she was trying to say, she never did directly, but she worked in the medical field. So when she found out that Kevin and I was getting married, it wasn't yet. She was like, okay. Okay, like, okay, right? And she was the first one who introduced arrested development to me, because I was sharing with her, fresh in the marriage, it was something that he had done. And I was thinking, who does this at 50 years old? Right. And so I was sharing that with her. And she said, Sheila, she said, don't tell Kevin I told you. She said, go look up arrested development. And so when I did, what I saw was, of course, the movie, that sitcom Arrested Development, and then I
Mhm.
saw Arrested Development as it pertains to medical, when a limb doesn't fully develop, the leg or arm. And I was like, I don't get it. Why is it over there? But the deeper we got into this aftermath, I went to revisit it again. And then that's when I found arrested development is when the psychological impact of whatever trauma, whatever age you experience that trauma, the psychological, the development, the maturity that stops, right? So I said,
Mhm.
okay, okay, there we go. I know why now, right? And then hearing from family members, one lady said, I'm so She said, I'm so tired. I thought when he got home, I was going to be able to pass this baton, but all he want to do is sit up here and play the whatever game. She said, it's like I got two children now, right? A guy on the inside who read Arrested Development, he said, Miss Bruno, I hadn't even thought about it. He said, but I sit back now and I see these old cats in this day room. He said, man, it's like it's a bunch of teenagers up in here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so women, let me come on, sisters, let me talk to you, right? So we get, we want this man to come on, whatever. And then he may not even be able to meet that emotional need that we're expecting because of arrested development, right? One lady say, all he do is sit up there on Facebook and flipping and looking at different women. I said, man, how old was he when he went in? She said he was 17. Okay, he's still 17.
Yeah.
He's still 7. If he has not done any type of work, because it takes work.
Hmm.
You just ain't finna walk out of this back gate and just magically everything is gonna fall in place. You have to work with this thing every day. Every
Yeah.
day. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow. Um, yeah, this has been amazing. Yeah, so we are at our hour.
Went by fast.
It's fast. It always
Yeah,
does. It always does. But like, it goes back to the mantra of, time flies when you're having fun.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
we building, we're being empowered over here.
yeah,
So that's what happens when
yeah,
your soul is being edified. The
yeah,
time can fly by. I wanted to take a couple minutes before we got off of here, and I wanted to thank you. One, for the work that you do, for taking that baton to move forward with this mission, and for just the servant's heart that you have. I just met you Monday night. And I told you when I approached you, I waited until everybody had a chance to talk to you, buy their books from you, because the spirit was leading me to come to you and connect with you on something deeper than just listening to you talk, which was amazing. I left out of there filled up. Um, but I knew I had an audience that needed to hear this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and so I asked you, although I felt like I was, climbing a tall mountain, I knew you had a lot of work to do. I knew you had to fly back home, but, I also believe closed mouths don't get fed.
yeah,
So I asked, and even in the midst of your chaotic schedule, you agreed to be my guest tonight.
yeah,
Like, I wholeheartedly appreciate you for that.
yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
Again, a lot of people, you had, I'm gonna say built in, but like they were real live excuses. Like, I gotta catch a plane, I gotta get back home, I don't get home to this time. And then even when I talked to you this evening, you like, my flight was delayed, I'm just getting in, but never once did you say, all right, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna be able to do this tonight.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
testament to how passionate you are about this work. So I definitely appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for tapping in tonight. Um, and hope it was as edifying for you as it was for me.
Yeah.
I know she gave her information. For those that do follow me, you can always tap in with me. I have her information. I can get it to you. While I'm on live, I don't have access to type in the chat, or I would have literally typed
Yeah.
in her information so y'all can get in contact with her. But I do have the information. I also have QR codes that you can scan. I will get all of that stuff posted for anybody who wants and needs that stuff to get in touch with her. Um, Go and get her book. I received a copy Monday. I've already started reading it. It is an amazing read. Um, so again, thank you, Dr. Sheila. Thank everybody for joining in. Um, y'all already know this was the season finale. What a powerful way to end it. But God,
Mm-hmm.
um, so we will be back, as I kind of take a self-care hiatus, kind of
Yeah.
process what
Yeah.
everything that I've gone through this season, as we've tackled the topic of mental health all of this season. So we've uncovered a lot of heavy stuff. We've unwrapped a lot of heavy stuff. So I'm gonna take about a good 60 days to reboot, get some self care, and then we'll come back and then we'll launch off into season 4.
Good.
Um, so make sure y'all stay tapped into the website, Iron Sharpens Iron, WAST.org, and you can keep tabs on what we're doing. Check out our calendar, see what events we have coming up. Most of y'all know that we have our annual gala December the 6th here in Indianapolis. You can find that information on the website as well. The tickets have gone live on Eventbrite. So you can purchase your tickets. Make sure you come out, support what we got going on. With that, let me give my closing reflection, and then we will get out of here. So today's conversation reminds us that incarceration doesn't just affect the individual. It ripples out to touch families, relationships, and entire communities. We heard today that healing requires honesty, boundaries, and the courage to face hard truths. But we also learned that out of pain can come purpose.
Amen.
That even when a relationship doesn't survive, the lessons and the growth can fuel movements that help others find freedom in ways that go far beyond prison walls.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you're listening and you've been impacted by incarceration, whether directly or indirectly, know this: your story matters,
Amen.
your healing matters, and you don't have to carry it alone. Together, we can break cycles, build healthier relationships, and create spaces where mental health is prioritized as
Yeah.
much as physical freedom. Until next time, remember, we rise higher when we rise together. See you
Amen.
all next season.
Amen. Amen.
Love
Amen.
is love.
Amen. Okay.